Hello, everyone watching and listening, and welcome back to the Free Radical podcast. This is your host, Swami Padmanabha, and today we are starting officially season 2 of our Free Radical podcast. This is episode 17. This year I'm planning to share episodes every 2 weeks. Last year we were doing once every week. This time it will be every 2 weeks. So this is the first one of this season 2. We are starting this season today with a company of a dear friend. I will call her sister, scholar as well, and very insightful Vaishnavi, Kalakanthi Dasi. So thank you so much for joining, Kalakanthi. Welcome.
Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you for coming. So I will share a few words of a short bio of Kalakanthi, and then we will continue being carried in whatever direction the conversation will take us today. So Kalakanthi Dasi, or Katrin Stam, has studied philosophy, Indology, and German at the universities of Hamburg, Heidelberg, and Flensburg. And sorry for my terrible German pronunciation. This is in Germany. She is currently employed at the Europa Universität Flensburg, where she teaches German as a foreign language. In 1991, she first came into contact with the line of the independent German Vaishnava Swami Sadananda Dasa, a direct disciple of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada, through a formal disciple of Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Vasudev Das. In 2006, Kalakanthi Dasi was initiated into this lineage. Later, in 2017, the entire archive containing both the letters and translations of Swami Sadananda and his disciple Walter Eidlitz was transferred from Sweden to Flensburg, Germany, where it has since been catalogued, restored, and researched by Kalakanthi Dasi. Based on her research, she has published several articles in the Journal of Vaishnava Studies and is currently working on 2 interreligious book projects in collaboration with the Department of Catholic Theology at the Europa Universität Flensburg. So before I forget, a brief contact for those who would like to know more about Kalakanthi Dasi, contact her, and know especially about Sadananda Swami. So I'm sharing here the website is for those who are only listening. It's www.sadananda, without any H, without any letter in between, Sadananda, Sadananda.com. Sadananda.com. So, Kalakanthi, that said, here we are. Thank you again so much to receive me. And I don't know, first, what comes to my mind is why you have chosen to come here today to this podcast. Which expectations do you have? How we can make a contribution, the two of us together, to reality on a day like today?
That's a beautiful question. So I got to know you personally in Sweden, in the place of Kishodas, Samuelsson, where the archive was stored before. So, and where we always meet every year the disciples of Svami Sadananda Dasa, and we were very happy that you could come there over Janmashtami for a retreat. And it was a wonderful time. I was very happy to do service for you and to have that we could have you there. And yes, it was a time of retreat and it was very peaceful. And I thought that I really like your very sincere approach to a new way of living and sharing Gaudiya Vaishnavism, not within the form of organized religion, not within the structure of a hierarchical pyramid, so to say, with a guru on top, but more in a way of helping people to connect with each other, exchanging their experiences and how Bhakti Shakti works in their lives, so to say, through tadatmya. And there's the word that you also chose, so to say, as a motto for this kind of bringing together people so that they can share how Bhakti enlivens their lives. So, and I thought I would really like to talk about that and share more and understand it in a more deeper way, because I feel that this kind of approach is very similar to the approach that Swami Sadananda Dasa had. He always said, I don't want to pose as a guru. I don't want to wear Indian cloth and then everybody will come to me and bow to me. No, I don't want this role. I want to be a friend of those very few who really believe that there's the goal where bhakti goes to is possible to reach, and I will be their friend on the path. And I felt that you're in a similar mode. So maybe, or similar mood. So we, mode or mood, whatever, both works. So I think probably there's something to talk about.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I totally agree with your words. And first of all, the nice experience we had in Sweden last year. That was a nice. I mean, it was my first time meeting all of you in person, and it was. I always like to jump into these adventures of, okay, let's go and visit this new sanga, which I don't have any previous personal meeting with them, but we have had some considerable tadatmic exchange, so to say. So, and it went really well. I mean, you were very generous in your company, your cooking, I must say, in particular, just to share that promotion publicly. But especially the prasad given not only in the form of food, but in the form of thoughts and association and sharing. No, I remember very kindly how every day we will get together with Maria and Kishore Das and share the readings from Sadhananda and reflect together and have our walks and continue overflowing the reflections over there. And it was so nice that this year we plan to do it again, basically. No, so and yeah, I personally really appreciated the, of course, one reason why I chose to not only having you here but visiting you in Sweden recently and again is personally I really feel aligned with the mood of Swami Sadananda. I find him, and we will talk about him for sure today. You cannot talk with Kalakanthi without talking about Sadananda Swami. That's not possible, and that's beautiful. No? That shows how much part of your DNA this great personality is, and that's how it works. No, we receive bhakti samskars, and we are made upon the grace of the saints. So I really appreciate how every time we talk with you, and not only with you, of course, no, but with someone like Kishore Das or others, naturally, these main sources of shelter and inspiration cannot but appear. So when you are in love with someone, that person will appear over and over again. No? So it's not redundant. It never gets uh, boring, so to say. So, and I personally really appreciate Swami Sadananda's approach. I consider him a very like multifaceted jewel-like personality, with different moods and ways of saying things and emphasis and integrating different, how to say, stances and elements of his personality that I found fascinating to discover more and more, especially in the association of all of you who have known him so closely. Let me go to one question that comes to mind, Kalakanthi, if you allow me. Of course, just a clarification also that I didn't made in the beginning is that last year my podcast considerably revolved around the principles of radical personalism. That's why the podcast is called the Free Radical Podcast. And it was going hand by hand with the publication of my book. Of course, the book has already been published a year ago, but I personally plan to continue talking about that because it's not because of promoting a book, but because these are principles that for me are ongoing. But it won't be necessarily revolving around certain topics of the book as it were on season 1, that we picked one section of the radicals and we were talking about that. It will be more open now. So just to make that clarification on the mood of the conversation. And since you mentioned tadatmya, and I don't want to sound like I'm promoting my project because it's not my project and it's not a project only. Tadatmya is a whole notion, an idea of empathy and connection and identification. So, and you have shared in the meantime, we have had some exchanges recently on tadatmya. If you can bless me and the audience with a few words, and what's tadatmya for you as a notion, as a concept, and maybe we're doing a trailer of something you will be sharing soon as well. But just a few words on that. Just a few words.
What I liked very much in your presentation about tadatmyam was that you showed that tadatmyam is there on all levels of life. So I will have a look because, so you said, I mean, it's, every form of interaction includes tadatmya, be it among peers, be it among the guru and disciple, the relationship to God, the relationship within God is a form of tadatmya, and the relationship of the manjaris to Radha is tadatmya in the highest form, and then Mahaprabhu in himself is tadatmya embodied, so to say. And I really like this comprehensive approach to tadatmya. So, and of course, I think it's important to, even if it, to see what the word really means. So what does it mean that there's tadatmya between the guru and the disciple, or in the eternal realm where the guru is the manjari and the disciple is the servant of the manjari? So it's everywhere, but what does it mean, tadatmya? So you said, of course, it's not ekatvam. It's no form of sayujya. And then you explained that there is the metaphor of the iron rod that you put into the fire, and that it takes on the nature of atma, so to say, of tat, of that fiery nature. So it becomes sort of fiery natured itself. But still it remains an iron rod. And if you take it away from the fire a very long time, it's an iron rod again. So I think you cannot think tadatmya without sanga. So, and sanga means not just sit together, but I think it's from saj, to be attached to, like the pollen is attached to the lotus. So, and in which way do we attach each other to each other within the bhakti context? Is through service. So, and whenever we talk about tadatmya, it's not that kind of cozy feeling of togetherness, but practical service to each other. So in the mood of wanting to please the other, not the good. So I think, so then it becomes more and more clear. So in the heart, tadatmya is Bhakti Devi in action. So who sort of catches or puts us on our place within this world wide web of service and seva. So, and I think that realization of what bhakti means and on one's own spiritual path becomes, so to say, the level of higher realization is reflected in how far and how deep you can perceive this tadatmya of bhakti through the bhakti seva world. Not in the Maya world, but the seva world, where everything becomes, is under the rule of yoga Maya. And I think, therefore, if one properly understands what tadatmya means, this is sort of a key to a wholesome life as a bhakta for us. And I mean, there's also I also wrote to you before that I thought about that I thought of the Shikshashtakam of the first verse, and that the chant, the kirtanam of the Mahamantra, the result is at some point that awakens Vidya Vadu. So it becomes the life force of Bhakti Devi as it's a female, and that is knowledge. Of course, knowledge that is how to please the divine. So and this kind of, not any knowledge, but this kind of knowledge, and that this life force of bhakti that comes in and through the name makes the bhakta alike to this woman. And it says it is snigdha and komala. So it's loving, tender, always willing to take a step back and put the other one first. So I think that if tadatmya, the glow, this is Vidyavadu, so, and she will shine more and more through each individual on the path as we progress and as we are purified and more aglow with Bhakti Shakti. And I think this will naturally form other relationships and help in relationships that they become less competitive and more, that there's more empathy and more joy also in the relationship. So this is a big picture. So once you get me start talking, I don't stop. Sorry, but now maybe
it's great.
I mean, at which points could you connect, or what would you say? Yes, I understand, or maybe you say no, that was not very clear. So please.
No, great. I mean, you have to give a whole workshop on what tadatmya means in all these levels. Kalakanthi, you're giving a very interesting unpacking on the notions that I've tried to convey. I'm happy that you appreciate it was not something planned, but it came one day. Remember, before giving this inaugural talk on what tadatmya is, and this idea like came naturally. So it's not even my authorship. Like, okay, tadatmya can be applied and understood in all layers of reality and in all types of relationships, starting from how we relate to others here as humans, with ourselves, with Sri Guru, with and so on and so forth. Bhagavan between Bhagavan. And for me, it was very interesting to see, wow, this is like a universal template, so to say. No matter where you look, you will find ideally, you have to find some form of tadatmya to deal with that particular level of reality, with that particular relationship. So I appreciate that you noticed that, you highlighted that point. And I really like what you mentioned about sanga, because sanga is, sometimes we can fall into, how to say, using these terms in a very casual way, like, okay, sadhu sanga ki jai, and sadhu sanga is just like a social gathering of numbers of people, and actually it has to do so much with you mentioned the word attachment, and that's what sangha is ultimately. Krishna in the Gita uses the word sangha to refer to attachment. So interestingly, sadhu sangha is all about getting attached to relating with other people through the means of sat, not through the means of truth and honesty. So getting attached to be honest with one another. Let's put it like that. That's another way we can translate sadhu sangha. It's not just physical number of gathering of people, but getting attached to being honest. And again, it's quite connected with tadatmya, because it's about openness and empathy and identification with the other worlds. So there must be like transparency in between for that to happen, and intimacy. I mean, even in Sanskrit, the word sangha will be used for sexual union also, which entails like intimacy and connection or creativity. So you can also apply all the things to, I'm thinking how sangha should play out in proper sangha, proper as you're describing, context of seva and giving to one another in sangha, and so on and so forth. So
yeah, I mean, I like this that you said sat sangha is like to have sangha and to be honest. And I there's also that sometimes the bhaktas or the prema bhaktas are called sats, who truly exist, who are not just like this passing personality shadow, but who are really there in the moment and who really embody the Shakti, the Bhakti Shakti. So I think, so this is, if you're honest, then you become a real person. So, and as a real person, you can be, I mean, it doesn't matter how you appear or in the world or what you are in the world, but you become real when you are in touch with Bhakti Shakti. And less, so to say, you resist to serving, the more it will make you real. And this is also another translation of Sat Sangha. So,
Yeah. And that also takes me naturally to think about the name Sadananda. Right?
Yeah, but that's Sada and Ananda.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
oh,
Permanent, always bliss. Yeah, but I cannot avoid connecting
joyful,
with
always
sad as
joyful.
well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So allow me to make for a minute that connection, just because I had one quote that I brought with me today that I want to share with you from Swami Sadananda, and I would like to hear your thoughts on that in connection to what we are talking now, which is on honesty. This is a quote that I included in my book, Radical Personalism. So it says like this. It's an excerpt from a longer quote. It says, if one believes one has to be something special and demands too much of oneself, it will lead to self-inflicted stress, violence against oneself, and despair. One can help one's fellow being to be himself, not in a metaphysical transcendent way, but simply in a human way, with all virtues and vices. No one should try to jump over his own shadow or make others do this. So that's great. That's wonderful. So much that I had to put it in my book. The first when I read it, I said that has to be put there. And I really appreciated Swami Sadananda's, like, again, human, realistic, down to earth, honest uh, approach, not only to how to relate with others, but to begin with, as it says, how to relate with ourselves, not to over idealize ourselves and so on. But let me know your thoughts on that, or how
Yeah, I mean,
you will apply this quote to yourself in your own life,
yep,
individual
yep.
stage.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. I mean, at first I had to think about where this quote comes from. It's a letter to a married couple, and
Yeah.
sometimes in that situation, the one tries to think, oh, the other one is in Maya, and but she has to, or he has to get out of it, and then they
Mm.
write to the guru, and then this is the situation where this letter was written. So um, and they just had left ISKCON, both of
Okay.
them, and they were both like they're living, yes, separate from the temple in that situation, and then they tried to keep up the complete standard, the temple standard, and they started to struggle.
No,
So
that story sounds familiar. Yeah, I
yeah,
heard
so
that a few 108 times.
yeah, so and in this situation, the letter comes and says,
Mm.
well, don't think you stop being a Bhakta when you cannot keep up with the temple standard. So
Yeah. Okay.
and rather be honest, and coming back to this tadatmya, admit, first of all, you are an iron rod. So and of course in that, when you are living in the temple, you have so much sanga in all kinds of ways, be it prasadam or artik, or of course the devotees, and reading the Bhagavatam together, and all these beautiful things. So, and when you move away from it, of course, it gets harder. So, but it's not that that in that situation you should think, oh no, now Krishna doesn't love me anymore. Now I am not worthy anymore. Now I will throw everything away because I am so fallen. So, and this is what Sadananda tried to steer into another direction, and say, so don't believe that bhakti is doing all these things. Bhakti is about your inner attitude. So, and also don't try to change others and say, well, but it's not so difficult to get up at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock and chant 16 rounds. So why don't you do at least 10? And the other person is like maybe in a completely different mental state, and it's just forcing and pushing them. And so also this respect for each person and each person's way on their path to bhakti. And I mean, what we also hear is that bhakti itself is completely independent of, so to say, the state a human being is in. So like when it comes to the, so to say, the prakriti, yeah, of the gunas and the character and all this. And bhakti is completely independent. What matters is sharanagati. So, and maybe sometimes there's more sharanagati when you struggle in different difficult circumstances than when you are, so to say, carried by the stream that flows through the temple. So it's just another, Krishna puts you in another place, and then you do as best as you can. But the most important thing is remain honest and don't try to jump your shadow, but embrace your shadow. Walk with your shadow on this path. So, and don't split yourself into the good Bhaktin and the evil Katrin. So, that's a very difficult life.
Don't do it. Don't do it, Kalakanthi.
Yes. I'm still trying to learn the lesson.
We are all trying. Yeah, we're all trying. I think it's very, how to say, it's very important that we normalize this type of struggles, because sometimes, again, even not only we stigmatize certain things, but also stigmatize struggling with being in those things, and we project this like over idealized, as I talked in radical personalism, over idealized not only superhero idea of some other people, but also create this pressure. I have to be like that as well, and as long as I'm not like that, there's always something wrong. And again, we know which can be the consequence of that. And I was talking today with a local Vaishnavi here, a friend of mine, and we were talking about the importance of accepting ourselves, self-acceptance, and how sometimes we may be going through a difficult situation, and what makes that situation even more difficult, or actually difficult, is the fact that we do not accept ourselves being in that situation. Like, we are not giving ourselves permission to be in an embarrassing situation, or in a situation where I don't know what to do with my life, or there is like overwhelming or doubt. And the fact that I cannot allow myself to be in that situation, because I should be in a more, again, ideal situation, perfect. The fact that I'm not having this self-acceptance makes the actual situation much worse, or creates is the very root of the problem, so to say. So I really appreciate, Sadananda's input to not relax in a lazy way, but just in a human, realistic, deep way, challenging way in its own way, to embrace your whatever, your messiness, your imperfection, your humanity, whatever it's there, with honesty. Like, honesty implies that, like, comprehensive embrace. Like, I like always to emphasize this. Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, the main verse where Krishna speaks about a sadhu in Apichet Suduracharo, he's speaking about someone of very bad behavior who is very honest about trying to continue practicing despite the bad behavior, continue insist on the path of bhajan. And Krishna says, sadhu deva samam tavya. For me, that person is a sadhu. So it's interesting that Krishna is not, because generally we think sadhu means, again, like canonized saint or something like that. And it can be someone who has her struggles, but honest, not honesty struggling. So I that's what Krishna prefers, as you mentioned. I prefer your honest struggle that your superficial show of perfection or something like that, right?
Yeah, and Sadananda also encouraged to live with insecurity. So, and I think the term radical personalist really applies to him, because he was radical in the sense that he went down to the root, like he wanted to really understand what bhakti is about. He learned the languages, and his translations are really back to go really deep. So, and radical also in the sense of not settling within a nicely built house of this is my religion and this is my belief, but always tearing down the house again if it didn't seem right, and be ready also to after World War II, after he was released from the prisoners of war camp in India, So he really then, and the Gaudiya Mat was an uproar in those days. So it was in 1945. So the question was, of course, for him, where do I go after I am released from the camp? So go back to Germany, where I'm a German professor and I know what it's all about, or do I go to one of the branches of the Gaudiya Mat or the Chaitanya Mat? Or then he went to On Maharaj, to Vrindavan, and then he realized he couldn't be in any of these situations. And because he felt that he couldn't be himself, he would have to pretend something or to adapt to standards which he didn't feel that he fit in. So he became a beggar in the, like, really standing by the road with begging hands, doing madhukar, and only giving lectures on the Bhagavatam and Krishna Katha, and become this very lost to the world person, wandering through India. So, I mean, this is quite extraordinary to accept so much insecurity, but using it as a means to go deeper and deeper. So he is, I mean, not everyone can do that, so to say, but I feel it is an inspiration, and he later also passed this on to his disciples, that the change of environment will not make your life easier as a Bhakta, but stay in whichever circumstances you are put by Krishna, see it as, so to say, an opportunity to go deeper, become more honest and more real in your wish to serve.
Yeah. Thank you for highlighting a little bit more of the background of Swami Sadananda and his embrace of uncertainty, so to say, no? How he tried to personify that as a beggar, as a monk, as a sannyasi, which I always like to remind myself as a sannyasi myself. And this year I'm 15 years since I accepted sannyas order. So, I mean, it's nothing in one sense, but every year it's also a question like, okay, from which place do I want to continue as a sannyasi? What's sannyas for me now, today, this year, this day, and how to renew my vows in a substantial way, no? Like how to keep updating and upgrading what do I understand by being that. And this idea of abhayatva, or being abhay, like fearlessness, is highlighted in Shastra, like one of the main qualities of a sannyasi is to be like fearless. And for me, fearless has to do with what we just described, basically, like to be willing to coexist with total uncertainty in certain level. Now, of course, there is some deep certainty regarding Krishna's mercy and Krishna's shelter, and that's what allows to coexist with that level of uncertainty. That should reflect another level of certainty in one's depths. So, yeah, that for me is really something to strive for, and a goal to attain further and further. You can never attain it enough. It can always be attained on a deeper level. But I think it's very important, not only for a sannyasi, of course, no, but for every one of us. Like, you will be thrown into unknown waters. You will be suddenly invited to inhabit the unknown and out of the comfort zone places, and we have to be okay with that, no? And we have to even to celebrate that on some level, and to learn to find ourselves in that uncertainty, which is, it may sound like counterintuitive, no? Try to find yourself in outside of your comfort zone. Try to see who you are. Try to see what comes out of you in those unknown moments, unknown places. But that's where you will really know who you are. Now, because those uncertain situations will demand the most honesty from you, basically. That's when you have to be fully honest about who you are, who you want to be. So yeah, thank you for connecting that with Sadananda's, because sometimes we may hear about Swami Sadananda or anyone like, okay, he did this, he wrote this book, this, that, but in one sense, we are not yet able to connect with the real person, so to say, in terms of the day-to-day, how he walked his talk, what he went through, and which were the circumstances that he properly embraced and made him who he was in his personality, in his contribution. So I appreciated that.
Yeah, I mean, there are different, of course, different levels of accepting uncertainty. Uncertainty, like in everyday life, and uncertainty when it comes to the lila, because I mean, and for a prema bhakta who is on this level of realization, his life becomes lila, and so to say, and there's the same drama as in Krishna Lila, where there's uproar and fear and I mean, when you just imagine how Krishna jumped to fight into the Yamuna to fight with Kaliya, for example, or all these the fights with the asuras, so to say, but also there's a drama between Radha and Krishna's Leela and not getting caught and fear and everything. So
or dying in separation from one another and what needs to be done at that moment.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I mean, we can't imagine that. And I mean, so, I mean, it's natural that for a prema bhakta, this readiness to accept whatever the Leela throws at you, so to say, extends to his or her, in so to say, human life. Yeah. So, and I think I would be happy if I could just deal with certainty on the human level, because when you talked about it, I thought about this verse in the Bhagavatam, that the moment a jiva or an atma turns away from or doesn't want to serve God, in that moment the atma gets attached to the Maya form, and what comes first? Fear arises.
Yeah.
The second one, that the atma is not. So therefore, I think the fear for the body, for what we are in this life, and is an indicator. The amount of fear is an indicator of how strong or how not so strong our bhakti is. Because so and then we also know that the Bhakti Shakti, one of the results is that it cuts the knot that binds the jiva to its coverings. And when this knot is cut, then there is fearlessness. Then on the stage of bhava, the bhakta does not fear death anymore. So the path to true fearlessness, and actually into a life with more drama and insecurity on the spiritual realm, this is what we are heading for. So, but I mean, so it's good to start training on the low level.
That's what I was thinking, and I mentioned, I think, that in my book also, like whatever uncertainty we are going through now as sadhakas, human sadhakas, is a training course, a trailer, so to say, of what will come in eternity in a much deeper and more intensified way. Because as Rupa Goswami say, Hari Bhagati Premnasra Bhavakutila, but love moves in a crooked way like a snake, which means the movements of love are unpredictable. So at every moment, anything can happen. But as you mentioned, the arrangement of Yoga Maya, whatever, is fit to nourish and increase the experience of us in eternity. So, and every one of the participants in the players in Lila are totally ready to give themselves 100% to that flow, that unexpected, unpredictable current. So that's not easy. That's not cheap. No, that's intense. So it makes sense that we need to gradually learn that art and be like entering more and more tadatmic with that, be more empathic and identify with that way of living, because that will be our lifestyle for eternity as Gaudiya Vaishnavas. So we need to gradually train our inner muscles, if you want to put it some way. Like if you are like lifting weight and you are not trained and you want to lift a weight that is like 400 kilograms, you kill yourself. So you start to do it gradually. So when at one point it becomes natural, no? So yeah, I always like this correlation between whatever we are doing here, it's connected with what we will be doing for eternity. Because again, bhakti is both sadhana and satya. So we are doing something now because we want to continue doing that same thing in eternity. Although eternity will become more and more thick, so to say, and condensed. But we have to start somewhere, and that starting point is here and now.
And I mean, and now we fear for ourselves, but there we will fear for Radha and Krishna. So, and this is a big change, that the self-centeredness turns into God-centered.
It will be a fear on the foundation of fearlessness, so to
Yes.
say. A fearless fear, so to say. That's a good way to put it. Yeah, because interestingly, the foundation of bhakti is Sharanagati, and the Angi, or the main aspect of Sharanagati, is Goptritve Varanam, like this complete acceptance. Krishna is maintaining me, and Rakshishati Tvishpa, so I have total confidence that he's protecting me. So, which is the opposite of fear. That's my point regarding what you were mentioning, that I appreciate your point, like using fear as some way of measuring, so to say, a yardstick of where we are in bhakti indirectly. So, and interestingly, yes, you mentioned how fear will again reappear in the lila, making full circle, but in its most perfect form, so to say. No, every emotion finds its ultimate expression in lila, even anger, fear, envy, all the things that sometimes we hear. Get rid of all that stuff, but not to the point of rejecting that when they reappear in their ultimate form in lila. So, so that also nice to keep in mind. Kalakanthi, since we were talking a little bit about Sadananda, and I shared this quote, just I was curious about what on a personal level, what made you like feel this call to give your life to this person? What to this particular person called Sadananda Swami? Which was your personal call? What you found in him that did you felt so charmed that you felt, I want to basically dedicate my life to this person and his teaching and his message. Again, you are now working with the archive. The archive is non-different from your home, so to say. So you have made your house the archive, and the archive your home, so to say, whatever you would like to put it.
The Shastras, the texts are like the form of Sadananda and the form of Krishna. So it's not an archive. It's just, it's not a good word. It's, these texts are a person's.
Yeah, totally. I just use the word you stand for the bio, but beyond an archive, we have to speak in radically personal terms. So
okay. That's a tough question.
Oh, I know. But I had to make it. Sorry, I had to make it.
No, but I mean, the point was, I was 19 years old, so I just had finished school, and I got into contact. First, I got into contact, or more or less in parallel, into contact with transcendental meditation and Advaita Vedanta, because my uncle was a teacher there. Okay. So, and I for half a year I lived in his place. So I studied all the books about Advaita Vedanta, and then I got to know Vasudeva Das as a representative of the Gaudiya Vaishnava lineage, so to say. And he had a bookshelf full with Shastras, translations by Sadananda, and the books by Walter Eidlitz. So it was really like Krishna put me in the position and says, so these are the two paths you can take. Choose.
What a moment.
So, and usually my approach, if I have a question, I study. So I don't listen to my emotions. So like for more or less 5 or 6 years, I tried to find the decision by studying and comparing and what is the truth. And so back and forth. And then I also thought, okay, I have to have a look at ISKCON, how they are doing it, because I could see little in the Sadananda sanga, so to say, how you can practically live this religion. So I went to ISKCON and was almost on the way to getting initiated. So and still going back and forth, and at some point I had to I surrendered. So then I understood it is impossible to make this decision with the mind.
Mm-hmm.
So and then I gave everything up and went to Catholic Church and became baptized and went on a pilgrimage. Like my idea was St. Francis. So, and with a friend of mine, we went on pilgrimage from monastery to monastery in the old ways, so to say.
Mm-hmm.
And I got rid of everything. So like, so I always had the firm conviction that there is God and I belong to God. So I knew I will get there somehow, but my mind got completely entangled. So I had to untangle it, and then I became a farmer, and I worked on a farm and stuff like this. And at that point, when I was down to earth again, and maybe for the first time, a real human being in the dirt with the animals and nature and everything, then I remembered Sadananda, so to say, and his texts. And it was, I at that point, I had to give up the idea that I could get initiated in ISKCON and have a guru and a spiritual name and all the security that it offers, so to say. If you do this, then you will get there. So I knew I couldn't do it. I was not able to do it. So I had to give it up. But in my mind, not in my mind, in my heart, I knew even if I don't get all these things ISKCON could have offered to me, I would rather stick with the disciples of Sadananda, who couldn't offer anything of that to me, because Sadananda had passed in 77. So I couldn't get a living guru. I couldn't get initiation, no safety, nothing. But my heart was so clear at that moment that that this was my family, I belonged there for eternity. And even if I couldn't get anything out of it, I had to go there. So, and then I wrote to Kishodas in Sweden, so I would like to connect. And then I got a big parcel back with a picture of Sadananda and Sadananda's corrections to Walter Eitlet's book, so the most important text, and with wide open arms, welcome. Now finally you made it. So so when I was in the end, I think 27 or 28 or so. Yeah, so it was a long path that I had to accept where I eternally belong. And from that point on, everything was very, very clear. And then, of course, I got initiation still, because then there was a disciple at some point when she was 96, I think, a disciple of Sadananda, a Swedish lady, who then we begged her, please, before you pass away, please give us initiation. And then I received initiation and everything I needed. So, but I had to go to the radical, to the root, and give up everything, and then surrender, and then everything was there. That's the story. Not easy.
Yeah, every heroic story must not be easy. Yeah. As you say, give up, surrender, and everything, and find how everything is there. Thank you. Beautiful. Yeah. Wow. Thanks for two things come to mind. One I will insist with your permission, without it. What struck you, especially from Sadananda? What has been like the main thunderbolt like impact that made you so much inspired and connected with Sadananda? What in particular? I'm sure many things, not only one, but something that comes to your mind first. That will be my first question. Like, what struck you in particularly and captured your heart from the specific personality of Swami Sadananda Dasa?
He's real in the highest sense. I
Okay.
mean, it's like you tell a moth not to fly to the fire. Impossible.
Mm.
So
Mhm.
if you recognize that there's someone from the other side, so to say, it's natural that you say, how can I serve?
Mhm.
All you want is to serve. So this is just what it does. So,
Mhm.
and of course not to everyone. So, but somehow maybe also like on the outside, there were maybe factors like that made it easier for me to connect because he's working in a very philosophical and linguistic way.
Mm.
But I wasn't attracted to a linguist or a philosopher.
Mm. Mm.
So that's not it. I mean, that's on the surface, and maybe that's what makes others shy away because they say, oh, his texts are so complicated to read. No, I need something else or so.
Mm.
So, but this is not what attracted me. It's
Mm.
just like a shining light, impossible
Yeah,
to
yeah.
ignore.
Beautiful. Yeah, you say in the first line, he's real in the highest sense. That's it.
Yeah.
Thanks for the further elaboration, but that first line was like,
Yeah.
that's more than enough. Thank you so much for, and of course, that speaks about you also because I mean it takes courage to get closer to someone who is real in the highest sense, no? Because it's demanding, it's challenging because it's inviting us to be real in that same way ourselves, and of
Mm.
course that's what spiritual life is about. So thank you, thank you. And the second question that comes to mind, since you mentioned a little bit from your story that eventually you were initiated by a she, no, which is
Yeah.
by a Vaishnavi, Srimati Maitri Devi, if I may introduce her name here. So that's also a very interesting experience, I'm sure, because as you may be aware, even in some, at least in some parts of the Gaudiya community, still
Mm.
there are these dynamics related to can a Vaishnavi lady officiate as guru, serve in that role, and in some groups still there are reasons why that cannot happen. In other places, different opinions. So how has been your own experience of taking shelter of that particular personality? Which I mean, of course, you've shared with me in person the details of that I really appreciate that. But whatever you may like to share here today in connection to having a Guru Devi, no, and a very special one from what you shared. Uh, I don't know, some insights to the Gaudiya community that you can share about them. Of course, I mean, on a personal level, for me, it makes no difference if it's a Guru Dev or Guru Devi. I mean, for someone to be in that situation, we are speaking beyond this type of designations. But
Yeah.
still, unfortunately, many of us are cocked into those relativities. So please help us to further break those layers, so to say, by your experience.
Yeah, I mean that if there's a true guru, of course it doesn't matter at all. I mean,
Yeah.
it's. I mean, I don't even understand the problem.
Yeah, it's really common sense. It's really
It's
common sense.
completely beyond me. I mean, but I mean, I understand, of course, that uh, when it comes to Gaudiya Vaishnavism, that is very strongly connected also to Indian culture, that these things can get complicated. But one has to understand that the group of Sadananda was completely devoid of any Indian culture.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just the name, serving the Shastras, the Vani, Krishna's word form, and that's it. So and no Indian clothes, no, not even. I mean, you could say Ekadashi is really essential. I think Ekadashi is a very strong. It's opportunity to serve, a great
Mm-hmm.
opportunity to serve. So, but all these, still, this was not practiced there. No
Mm.
offering of food, all these, so to say, ritualistic, Brahminic things that you usually do in the Gaudiya Vaishnava communities in India and that are related, so to say, this didn't happen there. So there was never any question of a difference between male and female aspiring bhaktas or bhaktis. So this was not there at all. And when it comes now to my experience, it's not like when you have a female guru as a woman, now you can have someone to talk about all kind of female subjects like cooking and whatever, children, and it's completely, I mean, the fun thing was she was almost deaf, almost blind, only spoke Swedish, no English, and a little bit of German because she read all these texts by Sadananda. So that was the situation. So and she was over.
She was 96 at the time you received initiation.
Something like this.
She
her Tirubhava was when she was 99, and she was already in her 90s when she initiated. So something like this, 95 or so. And so there was no chit chat between women. So the point that she was a woman was completely beside any, I mean, didn't play any role at all. And so, but what was so special about her, why everyone, so to say, in their minds bowed to her feet, we didn't do it in reality, so but it was so clear that I think she had reached perfection through Shravanam, through listening. So we know that each of the 9 paths can lead to perfection. And during our summer meetings, we read for 1 week from the Shastrams, and we don't discuss much. While someone is reading, the other ones are listening. So, and when she was at the table in the room, the listening would rise to a completely different level. So because you could see for her, Krishna is alive. And and her dedication to Sadananda was 150%. Yeah, 108%. So over the top. So she was like, I mean, you could see that the Shakti from him was flowing through her. So she just, she in her it condensed, so to say, and
parampara,
and then it overflowed. So and it was receiving it from her. It was at some point I heard her singing the name also, like when behind a door, and it was amazing because it was Krishna. So I mean, and that this when you have someone like this around, it blows you away. You surrender immediately, no question, and it's completely beyond the human level. It has nothing to do with male, female, stuff like this, and not even with talking. So I always needed someone who helped to speak into her ear in Swedish what I tried to say to her. And so but she came to me in dreams. So and shook me to the core. So these kind of dreams. So I mean these prema bhaktas, they exist on another level. So and I mean, I mean, there's, as I said in the beginning, there was never a question to is it a woman or who is giving initiation or not. So
it makes total sense, and as we say, sometimes it's uncommon common sense, no, like someone is on that level, it shouldn't be a question. So the real question is why that issue is a question, while it normally shouldn't. On a healthy normal situation, guru is guru, no matter background, gender, all these details. And also that speaks about the disciple, because if the disciple is coming with the spirit of proper inquiry, the disciple won't care for those details, because the disciple will be looking for the, so to say, guru essence no matter which form it takes. For me, one of the main lessons of that is the Srimad Bhagavatam itself, because the main guru disciple template shared there is Parikshit Maharaj and Sukadev Goswami. And Parikshit Maharaj was the disciple, and he was like an elder person with experience in the world, and so on and so forth. But when his guru came, who was way younger, he could be his son, and he appeared naked and surrounded by people who were throwing things at him. So not precisely surrounded by a retinue of people glorifying, put their garlands, being elder in Hindu with long beard and turban, was the completely opposite of that. But he could feel this is Sri Guru coming. No? So he could see he was, as a disciple, aligned, in sync, so to say, not out of sync with the spirit, proper spirit. So he could detect beyond the form the actual substance of Guru. So it should be common sense, as you mentioned. If Guru and disciple are properly situated, the connection will happen naturally. Sometimes it doesn't happen like that. So that's why it's important that we remind ourselves how this should take place, ideally. And I also appreciated what you mentioned about Maitri Devi attaining, as you mentioned, so to say, perfection by listening, by hearing, because sometimes we forget that bhakti, bhakti is diverse, so to say. There's not only one way of doing it. There's not only one way to attain perfection, though, of course, we have the name of Krishna, especially emphasized, Yuga Dharma, and so on. And I'm not trying to downplay the importance of it, but also, while highlighting the importance of the name, we should be careful not to downplay or to underestimate the possibility of attaining perfection by some other angas of bhakti, some other expressions of bhakti. Like again, Parikshit Maharaj, I sometimes joke with devotees, Parikshit Maharaj attained perfection after 7 days of listening to the Bhagavatam, and he didn't chant one single round during that week. and he went to the spiritual world. So again, not to take this as an excuse to neglect vows and commitments we made with other angas of bhakti, but just to remain open enough to realize there's so many ways perfection can be attained. There are so many ways Krishna can extend mercy. In one sense, he has all the copyrights, so to say, to his own mercy, and he can do whatever he likes, and he can convey whatever. So my point is not this idea of, okay, I have to follow the magical formula, and Krishna is forced to give me perfection because I've done it in terms of number, and he has to give me, like it's more based on my own effort and reaching a certain number and deserving something. Well, at the end of the day, it's a sincere presentation of my heart and Krishna's mercy, and that can take so many forms. So yeah, I appreciated that you mentioned the example of your Guru Devi in this connection, that in so many ways, again, may be not shocking, but it may invite other members of other groups of Gaudiya community to rethink and recalibrate their own ideas as how they may think perfection can be attained only in this way, a guru can only be like this, or as you mentioned, some cultural filters that may be made like main part of the practice. And when those elements are not there, we have to still look at the essence, like you mentioned, cloth or certain rituals. At the end of the day, Baba Grahi Janardana, Krishna is caring for the quality of the heart, so to say. No? And that externally can take unlimited shapes. So I was personally especially attracted to your sanga, I will say, Sadananda Swami, his followers. One of the reasons because of that, because it offered like a very different way, externally speaking, even of approaching some things that I felt, okay, I like that challenge to expose myself even to those dynamics and see what remains of me, so to say, in that different setting, so to say, while capturing the essence, while being there and finding the essence that is in many other places, finding it here, though it may be coming in a externally different packaging, if you will. No, sorry, you were going to say something.
No, but exactly, how did you feel? in that situation? What did it do to you? I mean, in the beginning, you were a little bit like waiting, and I could feel like assessing the situation.
No. To be honest, no. There was not that type of like doubt or like expectation. I mean, because it was just I wanted to see what came of. I mean, I always like to put myself to test, so to say, in a healthy way, like expose myself to different environments. I mean, not on an extreme level. It's not that I'm going to brothels and casinos and let's see what remains of me, but to different forms of Vaishnava association and so on, or even practitioner from other traditions. And I like to see, okay, what comes of me from here. I don't want like to just become addicted, so to say, to a particular way of doing things, and like even like rejecting or afraid of exposing myself to other moods of being a Vaishnav. So it was more about, I was curious about what may come from me, but not like afraid or neurotic, but just like interested, because I know I will be nourished by this particular group of sadhus or Vaishnavas, and I know that will happen, because if not, I wouldn't be going there. And we have had such nice interaction online with you and Kishore Das for some time before our physical meeting. So, I mean, for me, really, there was no doubt that it will be like very exciting times and funny times and happy times, and they were. But yeah, I was just looking forward to the particular impact and bhakti samskars that I will be receiving from you all, and I can tell that they were very nourishing and very tasteful and very inspiring. So nothing to regret. I'm going there in a few months again. I look forward to repeat that in the future. So yeah, I appreciated that. I appreciated that. Very Saragrahi, in the words of Thakur Bhaktivinoda, I will call very like to the essence, no, of what Gaudiya Vaishnavism is about. And sometimes to be devoid of certain externalities, certain external formalities, is even more inviting to connect with the essence, so to say, because
Yeah, but yeah, and when
the
you connect,
externals are not there, are ordinary, so to say. So you are forced to concentrate on what's substantial here. So it's something like that, right?
and from the substance, so to say, these external practices will grow, but they will come from inside out. Because of course, if you want to, if you don't want to be disturbed by your mind all the time, so you think, okay, maybe a more sattvic lifestyle would be helpful. So to do service. So, or if you think that, or if you feel the need that Krishna becomes more part of your life, not just 15 minutes in the morning, but maybe a little bit more. So then you think about, how can I connect more of my life with Krishna and Seva? So and then you are looking for the means Krishna is offering, like doing japa, or remembering the special days during the year of the appearance days and disappearance days of the Vaishnavas, and to visit tirthas and do all these things that are all these angas of bhakti. But you choose those you can incorporate into the life where you are living.
Yeah.
So and of course it's not. Yeah, I mean, it is Krishna's mercy. Why would you reject it? All these possibilities to connect. So
Yeah,
I think this
agree.
is important. Yeah.
Yeah. That brings me the question, Kalakanthi, because we are talking about, again, integrating Krishna's presence into our lives and Krishna Bhakti. And you are a scholar. You work as a teacher in university, as we mentioned in the bio. So I'm curious about, and I ask this. I almost ask this to every single scholar I meet on my way, the Gaudiya scholar. So how you integrate scholarship with devotion, or how you experience the world of scholarship with all that it entails in and in connection with bhakti, and how to, because I know it's challenging. I mean, I'm not a scholar per se, but I have intellectual pursuits, so to say, and I can, on some level at least, uh, perceive the challenges and the potential pitfalls, so to say. but also the beauty of that being properly integrated. And so how do you personally deal with both worlds, trying to make both worlds one world, so to say, or realizing that actually there can be one?
Yeah, I will talk, two aspects maybe.
Yeah.
The first thing, right from the outside, I'm not a typical scholar. So to say, Krishna gave me a perfect opportunity. I earn my money with teaching German as a foreign language, which
Okay.
is a simple, practical job. Okay, I have some teachers and I have to organize the department, so to say, but I can do this like with that little part of my my brain, so to say. So I love it. I love to be there for students and to be there and help them in the best possible way to learn German. So I'm really loving this job. So, but I'm independent. I don't have to earn money with my, so to say, scholarly work. I'm completely
Okay.
free. I'm not part of a philosophical department or so. I'm not within these hierarchies and all the complications of a university. So I'm just doing what I want.
Okay.
So, and this freedom is something very special, and also this financial freedom. So this doesn't come in. So, but there, of course, there are more pitfalls. One great pitfall is, of course, using knowledge of the Shastras to shine the own ego. So, and something which I was always what I'm careful about, or I know it's a pitfall, using the texts of Swami Sadananda Dasa to show off. So not to praise him and Krishna, but to praise myself. So I'm very aware of that. So, and so I can only say I don't know whether I'm doing it well and whether I'm failing or not. I'm aware of this pitfall and I try to do my best. So to really always put Sadananda, my guru, in the center and to help him in his mission. So to make his very pure translations available for those who are looking for them. So, and to make him known so that people know that there's someone like him who has existed and exists, further exists in his words. And this is what my seva is. This is what I have to do. So, and I try to always remind me and to synchronize myself again and again with this inner attitude. But I know it's tricky because my nature is, I have a scholarly nature, so to say, and it likes to get nourishment wherever it gets that nourishment. And then, the Trinavata Asura is going like, Chew!
Thank you for the illustrative depiction. I can imagine I'm visualizing Kalakanthi being taken by Trinavarta up and down, up and down.
Yes.
Krishna will appear as a baby and bring Trinavarta down, no problem.
Yeah,
bring us.
It's gravitas. Guru is heavy, is gravitas. So and Krishna brings that down because he centers one again. Yeah, in true bhakti. Yeah, not what we believe is service, but actually is self-serving.
It makes me think about the meaning of the word humility, which comes from humus, which is like ground, earth. No, so we go too much high. The Trinavarta demon takes us into too much intellectual pursuit, and Guru Krishna comes to down to earth, humus, humility, returned here. So, thank you. Okay, I appreciate your willingness to remain aware of the potential pitfalls. Now that's in itself is a discipline, no? Because one can know, there is this pitfall, but you don't keep that present in your awareness, and probably you start to fall into the pitfall by forgetting that it exists. So just to keep that in mind, no? To keep it present. You have some reminder there that you want to show us? Okay, thank you so much.
And I have to thank Satchidananda Swami for this one, because in the 90s, when I was in 1995 or 94, I was in the Heidelberg temple, and he was celebrating his birthday, and he got a very big cake. And on this cake, this were the waves of bhakti, so to say, and there were all the kinds of little cards on it, so to say. And the piece of cake he handed to me was together with this little cards, a reminder, and it's still here. I look at it every day because I know that's my pitfall.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, sometimes we need to make it concretely visual, and it helps. Sometimes we even talk with devotees, and we say if it helps you, put a sign on your wall, put some reminder, whatever. Nowadays, an alarm in your cell phone regarding the potential pit, whatever it works. Now, be creative, but remain. Yeah, we should remain aware of those potential. As we have a beautiful potential, we have also a very dark potential that we can go through. So it's good that we remain aware of both, basically.
What would you say is your pitfall? Do you also have one?
I will totally embrace the one you have. I was thinking, make a copy of that card and send that one to me as well, Kalakanthi. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I will say that a potential. I mean, of course, potential pitfalls are all of them. I mean, if we want to think more in Achilles heel terms, again, as a sannyasi, one has there is pratishta. I mean, pratishta means position. No, the problem is pratistasha. No, the desire for that. But sannyasa is in big part all about position, like taking certain position and using that position. In one sense, it has to do with influence and power, which I personally do not think they're a bad thing in itself. I mean, you can, with power, you can do something beautiful. As we know, Mahaprabhu's main followers, the six Goswamis, all of them have so much power in their life. They have, like, as we were talking the other day in the Bhagavatam, it says Janmashvarya Srutas Rivir Idamana Madam Punan, so on. Kunti is saying those who are born with high birth, opulence, knowledge, beauty, those things can be real obstacles in your sincere approach to Krishna. But in one sense, all the six Goswami have all these things. They were beautifully physically. Many of them were multimillionaire, like Raghunath Das Goswami, Rupa and Sanatan, high birth, knowledge, what to speak of their knowledge. And Mahaprabhu picked those six in particular that have so much power. My point is, all the things translate as power: beauty, knowledge, influence. Gopal Bhatta Goswami was the only child of the main priest of the main temple in India, basically. So all this is power, power, power. And Mahaprabhu considered, yes, power is important to build the sampradaya, so to say. Let's use it properly. But again, of course, it can go into many other directions. So I try to remind myself about this situation. Okay, I accepted this order of sannyas, and I'm somehow I'm traveling and giving lectures, and people take me as a point of reference or as a mentor. And I want to remain aware, as Sadananda Swami nicely put. I want to be friend of other people. I don't want to enter into the shoes of I'm above you and I'm your guru. Even if some people may consider you are my Siksha guru, and what guru means in that case. And as, again, Sadananda always, I especially like that. I mean, so many things I like from him, but one of them is how he conceives the role of guru. I mean, he himself being a guru, and from which place he's approaching his students with such intimacy and friendship and love and care and personal concern. No, I've read so many of the letters that he exchanged with, for example, Ward idlets, and sometimes he will speak so thunderbolt-like, but always there was always the lotus petal in between the thunderbolts, so to say. So you could see sometimes you may be like, how can he talk so heavily? But then you can be like, how can he talk so lovingly at the same time? And you have to put everything together and understand what's actually going on there, no? And how there was a real concern for the other person from the guru to the disciple, and there was so much intimacy. So again, I'm not comparing myself with him, nothing like that, but I just was inspired from how he will address his role, his service. Ultimately, is a service. So I will emphasize that, no, as a potential pitfall that I'm again here publicly confessing, so everyone knows about it, and everyone can be quick enough to caution me about it if in case they see that I'm getting distracted or diverted, because I need friends. Of course, all of us need friends, and I also need friends. And friends are those who will come to you and talk to you on a personal level, as a peer, without like kijai or without this distance or hierarchical stuff. That I'm not against hierarchies, but again, we also need friends we can confide in and trust in. And I even sometimes we talk to one another with you, Kalakanthi, and the message is prefaced like "dear friend." No, we write to one another sometimes like that, and not only with you but with others, or dear sister, dear brother. And I know that for some people it's like, how Maharaj can you talk like that to a lady or to a your Maharaj? I mean, there are lots of these structures, and I'm not saying everyone should preface their messages like I do, but for me it feels how to say, it feels safe not to address people from that place. It feels safe, it feels grounded, it feels human, it feels humble, it feels honest. I'm not just addressing people like that as a strategy to protect myself. I mean, I feel that to begin with. I feel that sincerely, and I'm not addressing everyone and anyone like that. So, but also I feel it helps me to keep me and remind me to remain in a place, a sober place, a place of sobriety, because we are supposed not to indulge in intoxication, but there are so many ways of being intoxicated, not necessarily with substances. So yeah, thank you for your question. Actually, I was going to ask you. I do not want to only be labeled as a only interrogator in this podcast. So if there was something you would like to ask me, so you read my mind somehow, and you presented that question. So I'm glad for that as well. Yeah,
I think as a radical personalist, you're, so to say, it can easily happen that you stand out like Pratishta, like so if you're such kind of person, and I think that really Pratishta, or it becomes dangerous, as you say, when you really think you're the one and only, and you stand alone, and everyone is beneath you, and you're the only one who knows how things are, and the rest has no idea. And I think the true, also for my part, so to say, like with this, because it's Pratishta's, obviously, yes,
sorry, yeah.
So to say. And what I also experienced is what you say, that this true sanga with others really puts yourself in your own view into perspective. So, and if you see how grace works in others' lives, then you become humble. And I'm very grateful that you put me into contact with a small sisterhood of very good friends I found now, where we have an exchange on this personal level, how we try to live bhakti in our lives, and about the difficulties and how we overcome them. And I'm really in awe of all these ladies I've met there, and their lives, and how they are struggling in their way to be true and genuine human beings and aspiring bhaktas, so to say. And I really feel that the readiness to be friends with others on an equal level, to strengthen each other, is the best cure against the wish to stand out and to shine and be better than all the others. So
Yeah. Thank you so much. And my audio is appearing. Did something change in your computer, Kalakanthi? No. Okay,
no.
but my audio was kind of appearing now. It's not appearing. Something happened anyhow. Krishna is mischievous as usual. But yeah, I was thinking about in my personal case, as you mentioned, trying to do things as the only way I know how to do them somehow takes me to stand out in certain situations, not because I'm better than anyone, because just, I don't know, in my own personality, I feel the need to do things in a certain way, let's put it. And the way I need to do things make me do them differently than what most people do them. But it's not that I just want to always do things differently so I stand out. It's just how it
Yeah.
happens. I remember recently some devotee friend, somehow, I don't know, he saw that by some picture of mine or some video where my hands were shown. He read the lines of, he works like a palmist, and he read my hands and he sent me like a brief overview of that. And there appeared that yeah, in my nature, my swabhav, there's this personal need to express things in a particular way, and generally I won't be like fitting into the masses, how mainstream people do things. And it's just like, and I need to do things in that way for me to be myself, to be honest
Yeah.
with what I can be, and to be healthy and sustainable and inspired. So yeah, that helped me to, yeah, it's not that I want to stand out and be special and feel myself superior to others, just the only way I can do them in my particular situation. And of course,
Yeah.
again, the potential pitfall is there, but just knowing that that's part of my nature as a human sadhaka is also healing and helps me to further integrate that in a wholesome equation. So yeah, thank you for that. One question that comes to mind, maybe we can conclude with this. Let's see. I never know, but I I was reading in your bio in the beginning that you are at present engaged into interreligious projects. So in some books. So as you may know, I really like that. In my book on radical personalism, I talked about the importance of also learning from other traditions and even including some insights as part of our own religion. And of course, sometimes there are differences, but sometimes there are commonalities that are expressed from different languages and perspectives, and we can be nourished by that. So I was just curious about which were those projects, and which is your own personal take on dealing with interreligious dynamics, so to say.
Yeah, I mean, it really it comes from one contact to one professor, so to say, and
Mm-hmm.
he also knows Sanskrit, so was the connecting point. So, and
I
he
think you
is
mentioned that to me, no? I think you talked to me about that person in the past,
yeah, and he's
some
really
email or
really
something.
open-minded in every way. So
Okay.
and I mean, also just a brilliant mind, so to say,
Okay.
and so and he also he does what he wants. So with his projects. So this is what I liked about him. And
Mm.
so there's and of course I'm very careful where I invest my time, because it has to be bhakti related or I'm not doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So because time is precious and very short. So but I found I mean, it was meant to be. There's an English composer, his name is Gustav Holst, from the 1920s, 30s or so. He wrote an opera about the Savitri legend.
Yeah, you mentioned that. Yeah, now
So
I'm.
yeah. So, and
Yeah.
of course, Savitri, Saraswati, Bhakti Devi rang all the bells in my head. So I made this connection. So I said, okay, it's about Bhakti. I'm going for it. I will write something. So,
Mm.
and I made it all about Bhakti. I'm the only one. It's like a Sammelband. How do you say when you collect several articles from several people?
Yeah.
Like so, and it's all about the occasion is an anniversary of this opera. So
Mm.
so the opera will somehow be in the center. And I just did a complete analysis of the story in the Mahabharata and the levels, the psychological meaning of it, and comparing it with the Puranjana story, and that it actually all is about bhakti. So, in short, so and so this is. I think if I have a feeling it comes from Krishna, I take it. If it's not, I don't. So and yeah, and the other project was just, the book has no title yet. It was general, just about saints, so to say, and special kinds, strange kind of saints. And of course, I wanted to write about Sadananda, but that was rejected. I knew there was one quote from Sadananda where he refers to a German dramatist, and Ernst Barlach, an artist, and there's a connection to, oh, it is getting complicated, to the Heart Sutra, so to say.
Yeah.
And Sadananda wrote his dissertation about this
Yeah.
Heart Sutra. So in the end now I wrote about Ernst Barlach, but I used all the information I got from Sadananda and made the connection, so to say, like how the
He's
heart.
present there. Yeah.
So he's always present there. So I always I only want to do things where I feel that he is close.
Yeah.
So yeah. So this is what I'm doing.
Yeah. That's how it works again when you are in love with someone. So I can tell that.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kalakanthi, for sharing. And I don't know if we are reaching, I think, the end of our conversation just for today. There are many more conversations to come between the two of us for sure. But is there something in your mind that you would like to share? Something else that you feel you will like to extend or share before we conclude?
Oh, and
Whatever.
thank you very much. I mean, the time was flying, and actually I was late for our appointment because I had messed up my calendar and I was not
No need to
prepared.
go there.
Yeah, and I just jumped in, and I trusted that we will find the path will appear in front of our feet, and we will just walk it. And it was a very nice walk. Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to further meetings.
Yeah, further walks in Sweden in a few months for sure.
Yes.
So, yes, thank you so much. And before concluding, I will share again the contact. If you want to contact Kalakanthi, there will be a way of contacting, an email contact in the website of Sadananda Swami. Again, the website is sadananda.com. There you can find, again, lots of articles and many writings and bio info of Sadananda Swami. I mean, basically, whatever not everything, there's so much about Sadananda, but most of the information you can get about him to get to know this unique person that I personally will encourage each of you to take a time to reach this unique Vaishnav. You can find most available information in this website, sadananda.com, and you can contact Kalakanthi as well through that. So next week, we are not having an episode, as I mentioned. From now on, we will be sharing episodes every 2 weeks. So see you in 2 weeks for our next episode of the Free Radical podcast. So thank you so much for joining, all of you. Thank you so much, Kalakanthi, again, for your presence.